Yeah, what's up, my peoples? Yeah, I have to bring my fan out. It's about to get hot in here. We got a great topic today. Actually today is my favorite topic. Credit and funding. My favorite things to talk about. Fly boss to credit boss. I want to welcome everybody to the Mastermind Monday. Because you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. So I appreciate you guys for coming on in and having this Mastermind Monday with me. I hope everybody's encouraged, not discouraged. They feeling good, they feeling great. They happy to be alive, and we coming together here today, and we're going to talk about some things that can move your life forward. Some strategies you can implement, some things you can do to make your life greater than it already is. So I want to appreciate everybody for coming in. And come on in. I'm going to give you time to people to come in because I've been actually running a little late today. But it's okay. It's okay today. Let me see. How can I... 1 second. Just come on in. Come on in, say hello, introduce yourself. Do your thing. Let everybody know where you're coming from. And everything. I'm trying to see if I can get on here. What I got in here. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so that is it. Let me grab something. Okay. All right. I'm just giving a few more minutes for people to jump in here so they can talk with me, so we can answer any questions that people may have, so that we can just get to the nitty gritty, because this is going to be an insightful mastermind. This mastermind here is by popular demand. I ran a poll in the group, and more people than a little bit would like to talk about credit education and credit funding. So that's why we're here today doing this week on credit education and credit funding. Now this gets deep and extensive. I'm going to try to stay on the surface level about everything, and if you want to go deep diver into it, you just contact me. I'll also be sharing links and different things with you guys for things you guys can apply right now to help you guys get in a better credit situation, and access the funding that's available to you. I'm actually looking right now to see if I can drop the link to my funding partners in here, because I want that to be available for you guys while you guys are going through listening to me at the Mastermind. And I'm going to put that in the comments. Let's see. Okay, so that you guys can go ahead and hit that link if you like. Check it out. Access some funding with no hit on your credit score, or your credit report at all. It's a soft inquiry. and we're gonna dive right in here. But I want to start off by saying thank you everyone for showing up, for coming out to support. Like I say, you could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with the FLIEBOS. And I'm going to make sure and do my best to make sure that this is the most insightful and it brings you value. Brings you value for taking out your time here to tune in to the mastermind. Uh, like I said, the mastermind is important that people participate, people come out to support, people share it out, people talk to other people about it. And reach out to me and talk to me about some of the things I talk about in the mastermind. Because I go into a lot of different areas and a lot of different fields, but like I was stating here shortly, that I will be going over this credit education and credit funding thoroughly, and it probably will be for the next couple weeks. I do want to get into some tax things, being that we coming up to tax season. So taxes will be another mastermind that I'll be getting into here real soon. Maybe in a couple weeks or so, sometime in October, I'll start getting into the tax trainings, because I do offer opportunities in the tax business to help you get started with your own tax business, open up your office, get you an EFIN number, and show you how to set up and structure your tax office. It's not as hard as you may think. It don't require any degrees or certificates to do it. I've been doing it for quite some time now, probably about 15, 20 years. Same with the credit. I've been doing that for about 15, 20 years. I've become well versed in both areas. That's why I'm FLIEBOS to Credit Boss, and I specialize in taxes and credit. Those are two intricate parts of what it is that we deal with here in life, in the American structure. The American dream is built around taxes and credit. Not money, not dollars. The real money and the real value is in the credit. Credit is more or less your relationships that you build with people, relationships and agreements that you sign up for, and your promise to pay, your promissory note. Those dollars, those funds that we have, that we see, those bills, those are promissory notes. Those are promises that there is value in this amount available, based on this promissory note, that piece of paper, that green piece of paper that we have. So yeah, I want to sit here and go into what credit is really all about. But like I said, I'll be going into this for the next couple weeks, because it's not only credit education. I'll be going into personal and business funding as well. If you check into the comments, I dropped the link down there from me personally, that you guys can actually go apply, and see if you're able to acquire some funding, if you need funding. But I want to start off by saying that you need to understand that when you applying for funding and getting funding, you need to be fundable. You need to review your credit profile, make sure everything is up to date, and everything is accurate on your credit profile before you apply for funding. Secondly, when you're applying for funding, you need to be sure that you have a strategy for the funding. Don't just get funding to pay your bills, take care of your liabilities, or anything like that. Anytime you get funding, I recommend you having a strategy to use the funding for. You get the funding that you need, and you apply that strategy. And the strategy should consist of a return on your investment. Because credit and funding is a form of OPM, other people's money. And you're using other people's money, and you're building relationships. So you want to be sure that you're doing something progressive with the funding and the money, not spending it on a liability. A liability is something that takes money out of your bank account and out of your pocket. You want to buy and purchase assets. Assets are vehicles, investments that you make that brings you a return on the money that you using, that you're spending. So if you spend money on something that's bringing you money back, that's an asset. If you're spending money on bills and expenses, that's a liability. So we want to differentiate between the two, and we want to be sure that we're applying for funding, and that we're getting funding to grow our money. Because we don't want to get funding and, like I say, pay bills, because money costs. The way that the economic system is set up, your money costs. Whether it's in taxes or whether it's in interest rates, your money costs. And you need to understand that taxes, credit, And money is all the three major parts of the economic structure in America. So you need to be well versed and understand what you're doing when you're dealing in money, or else you'll put yourself in a hole that seems like it's forever to climb out of, and that you'll stress yourself out trying to climb out of it because you don't understand what you got yourself into. So my number one recommendation to anyone that's applying for funding and that wants funding: be sure to, one, review your credit profile, make sure everything is accurate, which we're going to be going over how to maximize your credit profile and your credit score. And two, be sure that you have a strategy in place of how you're going to spend this money to make more money. And if you use it correctly and spend it correctly, you're able to acquire this funding, put that funding to work. This is what they mean when they say put your money to work for you. You'll be able to put that money to work, and you'll be able to create and generate more revenue. But you want to make sure that you're creating profit. Profit is the excess money that you have after expenses. And paying back that loan or that funding is one of your expenses. That's your main expense, because these are relationships that you're building. And funding and everything is built on relationship. The amount of funding you're able to acquire is based on your relationships. And when you're going to apply for funding from someone that you don't know or don't have a relationship with, they go look at your credit score. They go look at your credit report. Those are two different things. Credit score and credit report are two different things. Understand that credit is a game. This economic structure that we're in, it's a game. You got to understand how the game is played. You need to understand the players in the game, and you need to understand how you should strategize your moves so that you win the game. Because you can win in the credit game. That's the difference between the wealthy and the less fortunate. Is the fact that they don't understand the game that they play. They don't understand the players in the game, and they don't strategize to be sure that they're maximizing their asset, their money, their cash flow. You need to maximize your cash flow. And when I say maximize, like I said, that's more or less not just having income or revenue coming in, but having a profit margin there that you can do something with. Because, like, for one, my biggest thing is I like to tell people, when you're budgeting, because it is a budget that you're leveraging, it's your budget, based on your expenses and things you need to take care of. When you're applying for funding, be sure that you have a budget margin there. Be sure that you're able to, even on your earned income, mainly on your earned income, before you even get to funding or anything like that, be sure, my nose is itching, excuse me. Be sure that on your earned income, you're able to budget your money wisely. And I take a rule of thumb, I call it the rule of 70. 70% goes towards your expenses, your bills, and everything like that. 30% goes towards your investment strategy, your savings, and different things of that nature. So you should be able to take 70% of your earned income, the money that you go make, that you go put in the physical effort to make. You should be taking 70% of that and using it towards your expenses and your living expenses, and the other 30% should be going towards your emergency fund, should be going towards your investing, and should be going towards your yourself. I always tell everyone too, when you're going to work a job or 9 to 5 or anything for that matter, when you're making money, you should pay yourself first before you do anything else in this world. When you're going out to work and you're working hard for your money, whether you're working hard or easy, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, a 9 to 5 gig is a hard job no matter what you're doing. If you're going to sit at a cubicle all day, it's hard to do that on a consistent basis every day. It gets boring. It gets tiring. You feel like you're not being influential in the world. Sometimes it gets discouraging. You don't want to deal with your boss or your co-workers and different things like that. You're doing what you got to do to make a wage, to make income, but you want to be sure that you paying yourself first. I can't stress this enough. A good percentage to pay yourself is off top. When you get that check at the end of the week, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, however you get paid, when you get that check, every paycheck you get, take 10% for yourself. That is, give it to the temple. The temple is yourself. Pay yourself first. before you go paying any other bills, before you go to allotting funds to even here or there or everywhere, take 10% off and put it aside for yourself. Whether you go spend it on yourself or whether you go put it in an interest-bearing savings account and build up your emergency fund or whatever. That's what I would recommend. I would recommend you taking that 10% and putting it into an interest-bearing account and continue to have some more money growing over on the side with that 10%. But no matter what goes on, I don't care what bill got to be paid, what needs to be done. You take out your 10% and put it to the side for yourself. You take out your 10% and go do something nice for yourself to make you feel good, to motivate you to keep going. Because you're not doing it for nothing. You're doing it to better yourself, to be a better you. So reward yourself for making it through to the next paycheck, for dealing with all of the drama and whatever excess energies you have to deal with that you may not want to deal with. Because a lot of us go to a job, a 9 to 5, and we go there to make a check, and I sympathize with those that do that. Because for one, I don't feel like you should go do anything in this world if it's just money motivated. If it's only motivated by monetary value, you're not going to stick with it. That's not a big enough why. Your why needs to be stronger than anything else, because your why is what's going to keep you going when you don't feel like going. Your why is what's going to pull you through when things get tough. So sit back and think about why it is you do what you do. If you think about your why and your why encourages you and motivates you, then you got a strong why. But if you're starting to second guess what you're doing and want to change things up for some reason, it's because your why is not strong enough. And like I said, if your why is only to make money, is only for monetary value, it won't do it. Because the love ain't in the money. The love is in you. The love is in people. The love is in community. The love is in us sharing and caring. So you need to find the love of why you do what you do. Don't do it for the monetary value, because the money going to be high, the money going to be low, the money not going to come in like you want to, and money is just a tool. Money is only a tool. That's all it is. Money is a tool, and you need to learn how to use that tool correctly in order to optimize and leverage that tool in a way that it'll benefit you to the utmost. So yeah, 70. This rule of 70 is my rule that like I said, I believe in. 70% of your earned income should be able to take care of all of your expenses, your living expenses. And if it don't take care of it in that one particular pay period, throughout the time of the month, it should take care of all 70% of each paycheck should take care of all of your expenses. If it doesn't, you're overspending, you're over leveraged, and you need to readjust some things. You need to take a look at your budget and see what you can cut back on, because it'll be very simple, and you'll be very surprised that you can cut back on a lot of things that you don't necessarily need. If it's not bringing you income or return, it's a liability. Buy less liabilities, because liabilities is what keeps you broke and keeps you living paycheck to paycheck, and don't let money just sit there, call itself saving and stacking. You can't do that these days, because the value of the money constantly decreases. It's constantly decreasing, and inflation rate is through the roof. Inflation rate is higher than most return on investments, most investment vehicles that we got going on. So if you got your money sitting over in the bank who only gives you 1%, 0.5%, 5% if you're good and got a good banking relationship, you're still over leveraged. You're still spending out more than you're earning. So you need to figure out a way to cut back your spending, and leverage more of your assets and bring in more assets so that you can leverage more of your tool and help your stuff grow. So stop spending so much. Scale back. If you're spending more than 70% of what you're bringing in, you're over leveraging yourself, and you're going to continue to go on a perpetual cycle of paycheck to paycheck. So stop. That's simple as it gets. Stop it. Be smarter and wiser with your money. you know, and learn to leverage other things. You don't have to liquidate your capital and constantly spend all of your capital. Learn to leverage OPM, other people's money, because if you leverage OPM, you'll be able to leave your capital growing and leverage OPM, which is based on an agreement that you have set in place. And if you understand that agreement, you'll know how you need to structure this OPM that you receive, and you'll be able to leverage the OPM to the point where the OPM will pay for itself and it'll give you profit. You know, so that's really what credit is all about. That's what credit is really built for you to learn to leverage OPM and leverage it in a way that it pays itself back and it gives you profit as well. And when you learn to do that and do that at a large scale and a large level, there is no limit to the amount of funding you can receive, you know, because lenders, that's what they look at. When they're reviewing your credit profile, your credit score, they're looking at the fact of how well you leverage OPM, how well you leverage your income, how well is your debt to income ratio, how well are you able to manage your accounts, your active accounts that you have, your expenses that you have coming in on a monthly basis, you know. So learn to leverage and not over leverage yourself. Scale back a little bit, review and budget. Review your budget, you know, really deep dive into your budget and what you're spending your money on, because that's very important, you know. And I have a lot of tools that I'll be able to help you with. Like I have a software app with my funding partners that we use, and it teaches you how to, well, it tracks. I ain't gonna say it teaches you. It tracks your budgeting. It helps you understand your net worth. It gives you advice on things you should cut back spending on. You're able to allot your spending amounts in the way that you move your money and the way that your money is moved. You're able to track all of your cards and different things like that. We have tools and resources. That's why you need to leverage technology that we have. You know, years in the past, back in the day, as we say, it was not so easy, or we didn't have this information or access at our fingertips. You know, it was much tougher for us to be able to access different tools to help us better understand what it is that we're dealing with when it comes to credit and tracking our expenses and different things like that. So learn to leverage the technology that we have available to us today. You know, there's many apps, softwares, different things like QuickBooks to track your spending and expenses. That's one thing that we don't do. We spend so freely that we just buy a lot of assets. We buy a lot of liabilities and spend money on things that we think will make us feel good when we're living a life of struggle. You know, we really need to invest into these tools, technology, and put our time into really analyzing what it is that we're doing. Take a step back, look at yourself and how you're living your life and spending your money, utilizing your tool, and structure that in a way that you're able to have abundance, that you're able to not worry about money, that you're able to not live paycheck to paycheck. Because that's the only reason we do that, is because we have a lack of understanding of the credit game. You know, and like I was saying, so when it comes to credit score and credit profile, those are two different things, but they're very vastly important to each other, because the credit score is like your report card grade. You know how we used to get grades when we were in school, A, B, C, D, or F, based on, you know, how well we completed the assignments. Well, your credit is an assignment, and you need to understand the assignment, you know. And so sitting up there and not paying attention to the assignments will result in you having a poor score. You know, your score is a direct reflection of what's in your profile and how you're managing your accounts, your trade lines. You know, because the account that's reporting to your credit is a trade line. I know people have all of these different things about trade lines, and they think when they hear trade line, that is something bad. No, trade line is no more than an account that's reporting on your credit profile. That's what a trade line is. You know, and there's different kinds of trade lines. You have primary trade lines, and you have authorized user trade lines. Primary trade line is a trade line that you own, that you're the head owner, the primary on that account. Authorized user, AU is that they call it, is an authorized user where you're piggybacking off of someone else's account. Whether that's a friend, family, or whatever. You're piggybacking off of their credit reporting, which will help your report in return. And boost that score up. But the thing about scores, credit scores, and I want to really dive deep on this because a lot of people see those scores and they don't understand why their scores are saying what they're saying. They're irritated by the scores because it's not reflecting in a way that they feel like it should be reflecting. They've been working hard at their score and it's not showing them the high number that they want to see and stuff like that. So they get discouraged by the score that they're seeing. Understand that credit scores are reported on a monthly cycle, on a 30-day basis. It's like a net 30, which is an account that you open up and you pay it every 30 days. So your credit reporting is the same way. And your score is based on the reporting agency. Speaking on reporting agency, do not be fearful of the reporting agencies. The three reporting agencies that we have is Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. These are reporting agencies. And I know when you hear agency, you feel like that's a bureau, or you hear bureau, you feel like those are the credit bureaus, and you feel like those bureaus are somehow connected to law enforcement or government or something of that nature. And that's so not true. The credit bureaus are just a third-party reporting agency, and we have many of those. We have the main credit bureaus, and then we have the secondary credit bureaus, which is like LexisNexis, SageStream, CoreLogic, those different ones. Those are the secondary bureaus. But the main bureaus that holds your score that people look at and utilize is the credit bureaus, the three main ones, like I just said, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. Those are the ones that lenders use. But each bureau, depending on the lender that you use, each bureau pulls a different credit score from your credit report. We have different scoring models. All models are not the same. Each lender pulls from different bureaus, and each lender uses different scoring models. So you will see a fluctuation between your scores when you look at it on different credit monitoring sites, or you apply for credit from different lenders and it looks different than what you've been seeing. That's because they use different scoring models. There's different scoring models based on the lender you're applying for, and that's why it's good to do your research and understand who you're applying for before you go and apply. Be sure that you know who they're pulling your credit score from. Be sure that you understand their credit scoring model, and be sure that you have reviewed your credit profile and make sure that your credit profile is most accurate and up to date, showing everything as it is right now currently. Be sure that it's at its maximum peak when it comes to applying for credit. But like I was saying, credit score is going to differentiate, and I don't want you to hang on to the score so much. Because as you're cleaning up your credit, or you're disputing things on your credit, you're getting things removed, and you're adding things onto your credit, getting new trade lines on your credit and stuff like that, your score is going to fluctuate. And it takes time for it to balance out because all bureaus don't report the same and report accurately on time. So that's where credit disputing and credit restoration comes in place. Is because these credit bureaus are not necessarily reporting your stuff as they're supposed to. And that's why by law, they're obligated to make sure that everything on your credit profile is accurately, timely, and efficient on your credit profile, or else they have to remove it, correct it, or remove it. And they have a certain time frame in which they must do that. So that's where credit restoration come into place. You need to constantly be monitoring your credit profile, at least on a weekly basis. Take a look at it. Be sure that nothing new is on your credit profile. Be sure that everything is reporting accurately on your credit profile, and anything that's a discrepancy, dispute it. Because by law, in all actuality, these third-party credit bureaus, they're being paid to report these trade lines onto your credit profile. But in all actuality, if we didn't give them written permission, signed wet signature permission in our agreement or contract for them to report it to our credit profile, our public record, they're not supposed to report it on there. That's why you can always get almost everything or anything removed from your credit report using dispute letters and attaching consumer law with that. You know, we're continuing to lose in this day and age, this day and time that we're living in. They're continuing to threaten our rights, you know, and they continue to try to take away our rights. And we've lost a lot of rights, you know, with a lot of different laws that have been put in place, like the Patriot Act and different things like that. And then we lose a lot of rights when we go through things like the pandemic, stuff like that. When they put us on lockdown, we don't have freedoms. A lot of our freedoms are taken away. And if they ever come to the point where they want to initiate martial law or anything of that nature, they're going to continue to take our rights away. They're already trying to take away our freedom of speech and being able to speak and say what we feel, and our freedom of press to be able to record and document anything that's in the public. They're already threatening those freedoms that we have. But the thing that we do have in our favor, regardless of anything about this quote unquote democracy, just not a democracy, I want you to know. But yeah, anything that we have going on that may threaten us in this democracy, the one thing that we have in our favor and that they must abide by is law. Law is what governs us in this democracy, that governs us in this capitalist republic corporation of America. We have law on our side, and that's the one thing that we're lacking as a culture, as a people, as those of less fortunate, is that we don't study our laws. We don't understand our laws. But our consumer law, which is the laws that back us when we're making transactions, we're spending our monies, and you know, we're having fiduciary relationships with lenders and different things like that. Consumer law is the one thing that we have in our favor. I don't know why my nose is itching like this. This is weird. But at the end of the day, consumer law is the one thing that we have in favor. And if you wrap consumer law around your disputes, you can get things removed fairly quickly, because it puts the law right in their face. It also shows them what laws they're breaking and how they're in the process of being fined and treading into water for loss of wages and different things of that nature. So consumer law is the thing that we have in our favor, and we need to educate ourselves on the laws, because that's the differentiation between the wealthy and the less fortunate, is because we're not understanding law. But by law, they're required to remove any discrepancy, anything that's not correctly or accurately reported on our credit profile without our permission. First of all, whether we gave them permission or not, if it's inaccurate, it must be corrected or moved, because that prevents us from being able to acquire funding. That prevents us from actually getting jobs and different things like that, because they use your credit score for everything. Oh yeah, and I'm jumping around a little bit, but we need to understand that law is what backs us, and by law they have to remove those things that are not correct. But that credit score, don't bank on it too much. The credit score is not as important as the credit profile itself, because you can have a high credit score, a strong credit score, but if your profile doesn't show that you're a strong borrower and that you know how to manage your accounts, you're not going to be eligible for anything. You know, you can have an 800 credit score, and if you don't have the proper amount of accounts, the proper profile reflecting that you're a strong borrower, you won't get any lending. I don't care what that credit score reads. And like I say, that credit score is going to fluctuate a lot until you fix your credit and you maintain your credit. Once you fix your credit and maintain it, then it won't fluctuate as much. But in the process of restoration and fixing your credit, it's going to fluctuate up and down. You're going to lose 20 points. You're going to lose 30 points. You're going to go up 100 points. It's going to change drastically, because it's all depending on what do you have on that credit. Because when it comes to your profile, the way that they tally up that score is based on, 5 factors? Yeah, 5 factors that your credit score is based on. And it's, number one, the most important factor is your credit history. Credit history. And that's the number of times you've made on-time payments. Your payment history. The number of times you've made on-time payments on your account. And the thing about on-time payments is, when it comes to reporting credit, like I told you, everything is on a 30-day cycle, a net 30. So you're not actually late on a trade line or an account till 30 days after your due date. So if you let 30 days pass after your due date, then they will report negatively as a late payment on your credit report. So you have to really be negligent and not monitoring your credit if you're letting late payments hit your credit report. They can affect your credit report more than anything else, because payment history is 35% of your entire credit score. That's the highest percentage of all the other factors, the other 5 factors, the other 4 factors of the total 5 that affects your credit report. So be sure. That's why it's important to review your credit report weekly, to be sure that you have no accounts that's coming up due, that you haven't missed any payments, and that you're making your payments as agreed. Because you want your credit score to stay strong. Because that credit score is what the first thing they see when they pull your credit report. They see that score first. That score is like an overview of what they're going to see in the credit profile. So before they even take a look at your profile, they can see your credit score. And if it's low, or whatever the case may be, and when we say low, anything below 700, 680 or lower is a low credit score. So when they see anything 600 or lower, they're automatically pretty much already in the denial range. They're ready to deny you because you haven't been managing your credit report. Either your credit's too thin, you don't have enough active accounts on there, you're inquiring for too much, you're trying to get too many new accounts, you're not paying them on time, some of that nature. So when they see that score, that gives them an idea of what they're going to see in that profile, because the profile is what matters. Because even with a low score, they may not be as strong as others, because like I said, because you may have a thin profile, you may not have enough open accounts or a nice mix of credit accounts. But when they look at that credit profile, they can see how you've been managing the accounts that you do have. And if you've been managing the accounts that you do have well, they may be willing to open up a new account with you because you're a good manager of your accounts. So they may give you a chance to open up credit with them and start off low with them and work your way up and build a strong relationship with them. So don't be a stickler of the credit score. That's why I say the credit score is not as important as the credit profile. That's why you need credit restoration, to be sure that your credit profile reflects accurately on your current situation and your current accounts. So the second most important factor, I apologize. I don't know, my allergies or something is bothering me, but my nose is really itching. But excuse me. But like I said, the second important factor on your credit profile is credit usage. Your credit usage is the second most important factor on your credit profile. That is 30% of your credit score, and how they factor it up. Between payment history and credit usage, that's 65%, over half of your credit score. So those are the two main things that you should be focusing on, is making sure you make your payments on time and making sure that when it comes reporting time, that your credit usage is down. A lot of people say keeping it down among 30% is great, is good, is that's what the banks want to see. Well, I beg to differ. I encourage or coach my clients to keep your credit score below 10%. When it comes time for you to apply for funding and everything, keep your credit scores below 10%, because that way you'll maximize your 30% scoring, and you'll get the most points from your credit usage. And the way that you structure credit usage, and this is where people don't understand how to leverage credit in their cards and stuff like that, is that you have to, one, be sure that you make those payments no later than 30 days past your due date, well before those 30 days come up. Be sure, so that you don't have no late payments registering on your credit report. But when it comes to usage, you want to be sure that you make that payment at least 2 to 3 days before your credit is due, before your due date. Because for one reason, after that due date is when the interest is tacked on. You see what I'm saying? So when you're taking out credit, if you pay your credit off before that due date, you don't incur any interest. You see what I'm saying? So you're really just floating money if you're able to make that payment and pay it back down before the credit due date. Now, after that due date comes, that's when they hit you with the interest rate on top of whatever you have due. And when you're making those payments, I forgot to say that, make sure that you at least make your minimum payment, your minimum agreed payment amount. You don't have to pay the full balance off, but if you're getting ready to try to apply for funding or try to open up a new credit account, be sure that you pay that account down to less than 10%, so that you can maximize that credit value. And they tell you don't max out your credit cards. Well, you can max out your credit cards all you want to. Just be sure you pay it back down before the cycle end date, because the cycle end date is another important date. Because when the cycle end date comes around, that's the date that they take whatever's reporting on your credit, on that credit account, and they report that to the bureaus, and it stays on your report for 30 days. It doesn't come off or change for an entire 30 days. So be sure to pay down your credit before the cycle end date. Be sure to pay off your credit before the due date. If you pay it off before the due date, you will never acquire interest. You'll just be floating money, and now you're maximizing the use of credit. You see what I'm saying? And if you're getting ready to apply for funding, be sure, or any kind of new account, be sure that you keep your balance paid down below 10%. And like I was saying, you can max out after that cycle date in your credit reports to your credit bureaus. You can max out that credit card again. It doesn't matter, because it's not gonna be reported to your credit report. So you can max out that credit card, use it up, leverage it all the way out if you choose to, and before that credit due date is due, pay it back down, pay it back off, pay the entire thing off, so you don't incur any interest, because you're going to have interest on whatever balance is left. So if you don't have a balance, then you won't incur any interest. You see what I'm saying? So be sure to pay it off before the due date, so you can max it out after the cycle date ends and they report it to your credit. Then you can max it out, but be sure that before, I say within 27 days from you maxing it out, go back and pay that balance off in completion, so that now it's paid down. The due date's coming up in 3 days, but when that due date come up, you have no balance, so you have no interest. So now you don't owe anything extra to that credit account. That credit account is reporting on time. You're leveraging your credit usage the proper way, and you're getting the maximized points for leveraging your credit usage the correct way. And you can simultaneously use cards and simultaneously use them to pay off each other. But that's a strategy that takes a little bit more deep dive. That's something that you would have to talk with me about, and I can help you and show you how to use credit to leverage credit to never have to pay a credit card bill again, in all actuality. But you have to offset your due dates and so on and so on, and that takes a deep dive. That's something that you have to talk to FLIEBOS about. But we could definitely dive into something like that. But like I stated, credit usage and payment history are the two most important things that you have on your credit report. And if you maximize those two things, you're pretty much gonna maximize credit, because those are the two things that can really differentiate you in being fundable and not being fundable, because that's really what matters the most. But it doesn't stop there. We also have length of credit. Length of credit is the length of the time that you're holding these accounts active. How long have you had open accounts reporting on your credit profile? You know, and they take an average of all your accounts and give you a credit length score, and that's 15% of your credit scoring. You know, so sometimes when it comes to disputing your credit profile, sometimes it's more beneficial to leave things on there because of your length of credit than to take them off, because sometimes things that's reported on your credit is not necessarily affecting your credit in a negative way, even if it's a negative account, because after so long it no longer is factored into your scoring. You know, so if you've had it open for a while, you might want to keep it, because just by removing an account that has long credit history will drop your credit score in such a way that you'll be like, what just happened? I thought that me getting stuff removed, negative items removed off my credit, was going to make me have a better credit score. Not necessarily. That's why you have to review the things that you have on your credit profile and be sure that you know what you're doing. That's why it's important to talk with someone that's a specialist at it, a credit coach, or someone of that nature that can review your profile with you, strategize with you, and you guys can make the best approach that's going to be beneficial to you based on your goals and what it is that you want to do. You know, but yeah, credit history is important. 15%. Credit history, long length of credit. The next fourth thing is credit mix. Having a good credit mix is also important. It's 10% of your credit profile. You know, having various accounts, revolving accounts, that means credit card accounts, having open accounts that is leveraged by assets or like loans, car loans, mortgages, different things like that is leveraged by assets. You want to have a variety of different accounts, because the credit mix is important, because it also, like I said, factors in 10% of your credit score, because they want to know how well can you manage different accounts. Can you manage a mortgage and a car note, you know, and your credit cards, you know, and your loans? Can you manage all of these things? They want to look at the history that you have with all these mixes of credits. So showing that you have a strong understanding of how different credit types work, and being able to manage all of them efficiently is going to make a lender favor you. You know, that's what they're going to look at your profile for, to really see how deep your credit history goes, to really see how well do you manage various accounts and different accounts on your credit profile. So having a strong mix of credit will definitely affect your credit score. And this really comes into factor when you want to get your credit score up to a perfect credit score, which is an 850 and over 800. You have to have a good mix of credit. You know, you can't get a 850 and everything like that if you don't have a good mix of credit accounts. It's not possible, because that's what they want to see. Mix of credit is 10% of your credit score. And last but not least, credit inquiries. How many times are you applying for new credit in your credit profile? They look at that. You know, a good rule of thumb is to not apply for more than 3 things within a 6-month period, within a 180-day period. If you're going further than that, be sure that you're not going to need credit for a while, because you need to leave time for those credit inquiries to drop off, because credit inquiries affect your credit for up to 2 years, and it affects your credit at a 10% rate as well. So that you want to be sure that you're not applying for too much credit, because lenders are going to frown at a person that is trying to apply for too much credit, because they're going to feel like you're a credit risk. You don't know how to manage money. That's why you need so many credit accounts, or you keep trying to get all these different credit, get all this credit right now, because you don't know how to manage your credit. So be sure that your credit inquiries are at a minimum. Be sure that that you're keeping track of who's hitting your credit account. A hard pull is an inquiry. A soft pull is not an inquiry. A soft pull does not affect your credit, no way, shape, or form. But a hard inquiry will affect your credit, and it will give you a credit inquiry. So try to do your best to keep your credit inquiries low. And also, when you open up a credit account, if you get approved for that credit, it doesn't necessarily hurt your credit profile. Now, it will add to your credit inquiry list, but it doesn't hurt your credit score. But it will hurt your credit score if you're denied for credit, so that you'll have an added inquiry as well as it'll ding your credit score, and bring your credit score down. So be sure that you're properly strategizing and looking into the lender or the account that you're getting ready to borrow for. Be sure that you know what's on your profile, what each bureau is reporting on your credit, and be sure that you're ready to take whatever it is, new trade line that you're about to add to your account. Be sure that you can handle it and that you can manage it. But I want to give you 5 tips, and I ran through those as I was going through the lesson today, the mastermind today. But I want to give you 5 tips on being fundable. And like I said, number 1, review your credit weekly. You have to know what's on your credit profile in order for you to improve it. You only can improve what you track. If you're not tracking your credit, how do you expect to have good credit? You can't. You have to monitor your credit. I have credit monitoring resources that you can use. Reach out to me. I'll get them over to you so that you can have credit monitoring and everything, and make sure that we get your credit profile to report accurately on what your current situation is, and that you don't have any discrepancies or disputes that need to be done on your credit profile. Number 2, keep that usage low. Pay down that usage. Keep that usage low for the end of that billing cycle. Be sure that you pay that usage down before that credit reports to your bureau. Even if you don't make the due date, be sure that you pay it down before that cycle ends. Because you want to make sure that you're paying it down and that you're getting the lowest debt ratio reporting to your credit profile, so that your number stays strong. Because you want your number to stay strong, and keep your payments down, keep them low. You know what I mean? Third thing that you should do if you want to be fundable is to be sure that you're building up a savings. Everyone should have an emergency fund. Everyone should be building up an emergency fund that's going to cover 3 to 6 months worth of their expenses. Everyone should be budgeting their income to you have to utilize 70% of your income, so that you're able to have investments, use money for other things, and be able to maximize your borrowing power. Because that's one thing lenders will want to see, is that you have money over to the side. When those accounts look fruitful, they're looking like you got money coming in and everything's not going out. You got good cash flow and you're managing your cash flow and growing your cash flow. That's what they want to see. When they see that, they know that you're not borrowing this money because you need it. Because when you need it, they're not going to give it to you. They're going to give it to you when you don't need it. And they're going to give it to you when they know that you're good with managing your debt. Debt is not necessarily a bad thing. It's only bad when it's a liability. But when you have good debt, it's an asset, like we were talking about. So you want to try to acquire as much good debt as possible. So also you want to make sure that you're having an emergency fund or an interest growing account that's over there growing for you, and it's making you more money while you're continuing to grow it. Lenders and stuff want to look for that. Most of the time, lenders want to have see your last bank statements, your last 3 months, and stuff like that. So you want to build up that emergency fund, that nest egg for funding before you go apply for funding. Now, it don't necessarily mean that that's a only way that you can get funding, because you don't always have to have money put to the side or stuff like that. But if you want to stronger and get more limits and more amounts, you want to make sure that you have some savings over to the side that they can see, where you got cash flow going in, where you're growing your money, all of the above. Fourth advice that I got to you, fourth tip, is to like I was talking, monitor that cash flow. Spend less than you got coming in. Spend 70% of what you got coming in for your living expenses. 30% should be able to be used on self, investments, and emergency fund. So, like I said, if you're leveraging more than 70% of your income towards expenses and things like that, you're over leveraging yourself. Control your cash flow. Don't spend more than you have coming in. Spend well less than what you have coming in. If you're doing that, you need to reanalyze your budget. You need to readjust your budget. And that's something that you may need to talk with a professional about. Talk to the coach, fly boss to credit boss. Let's talk about it. Be transparent with your finances, and let's find out where can you cut back on some of those things to make sure that you're maintaining your expenses at 70% of the income you have coming in. And if you want to increase that, you need to increase your revenue that's coming in. But at the same time, you still need to keep that ratio 70 to 30, the rule of 70. Keep that strong. And last but not least, like I just said, get you a coach, get you a mentor, get you someone that understands how this thing works, how credit works, how taxes work, because taxes is very important. 51% of your money, your income, is spent on taxes. And if you don't plan correctly, you'll pay that 51%. But you can bring that 51% all the way down to zero if you know how to strategize taxes correctly. But you are taxed on your capital gains and your gains, your profits and stuff like that at 51%. So 51% of the money that you make will be spent towards taxes. Understand that. So when you have $100,000 come in, 51% of that is going towards your tax liability. You see what I'm saying? Understand that that's what it pretty much breaks down to. But now, let me tell you, loans and funding is not taxed. It's only taxed on the spending when you spend it. But when you pull out a loan and you get income from loans and stuff like that, you're not taxed on that. That's not taxed. So, like I said, I gave you those 5 tips. The last one being the most important. I want you to go get my book, How to Buy Your Dream Home When Your Credit Score is a Nightmare, The Ultimate Guide by FLIEBOS. All you have to do is go to your Amazon store and type in FLIEBOS, and it will take you to the book. That book gives you everything you need to do when it comes to establishing your credit. I have my Credit Solution Bible attached with that book for the ebook version of it. For the ones that buy the paperback, like I told you in previous times, reach out to me and I will get over that Credit Solution Bible so that you have that along with the book that gives you all the dispute letters and everything that you need, how to dispute inaccuracies on your credit report, and give you the education that you need. I took a lot of time with that book. I've actually updated and added a second part to it because the first one I did, I wanted to go more extensive and deep dive. So reach out to me and you can get that book from me. Retail on that book is $24.95, but if you purchase my last published How to Buy Your Dream Home When Your Credit's a Nightmare, you get that book with it. That's a perk that you get. And also, if you stayed in to the end of this lesson here, this mastermind today, you can also get this book. But you have to reach out to me. You have to drop my slogan for today, Fly Boss to Credit Boss. You have to drop that in the comments. You also have to reach out to me either in the group or reach out to me in my DMs and drop that slogan and your email. And I will be sure to get you a copy of that book, the PDF file, so that you have it. Because I really appreciate you logging in with me today and enjoying this mastermind with me today. I didn't check the comments today to see who all spoke in the comments. I see there's a lot of comments. Like I said, I'm going to get better with engaging with the comments and talking with you guys more during the mastermind. But right now, I just want you guys to be encouraged, not discouraged. I appreciate you logging in with me today. Share it with your friends and family. Reach out to FlyBoss and let me help you better your situation and help you better understand your situation and how to maximize and leverage your situation. And like I said, be encouraged, not discouraged. I love y'all. Keep grinding. Keep coming back. And I'll see y'all next Monday. And we're going to continue on with this lesson here. And we're going to get more adept into the credit aspect of funding and how to structure your profile, things that you should look for in your profile, discrepancies, how to establish your business the proper way to get funding through your business. All of those things. We have a lot to get into. Little bit of time. I love y'all. Take care. Be encouraged, not discouraged. Fly-ish only. Love you. Take care.